Hey, and the microphone is on. Someday I'll remember to turn it on first, but that day is not today. Hmm. Ah, no one's here yet. So, for those of you watching on VOD or YouTube, hi. My name's Mike. I'm a writer, and in these videos, for reasons not really understood even by myself, I'm writing a novel. I figure somebody somewhere's got to be interested in that. All right, so yeah, it's been a while actually. Um, kind of really screwed up my schedule last week. Been running around getting stuff done, applying for a Chinese green card actually, and it has involved entirely too many trips downtown to the visa office to submit documents and then resubmit documents and then submit other documents. And then later today I have to go back down there again, hopefully for the last time in a while. Sorry, adjust my chair. All right. Hmm. So let me just get my messages checked there. Done. All right. So that's what that is. And, well, we'll see if anyone shows up today because I was supposed to start about an hour ago and I didn't. And so people may have gone off to do other things. I would. This is also a weird day or a weird scheduled stream because it's my Monday morning. I'd schedule them Monday through Friday in the morning, my time. But for most of North America, right now is, of course, Sunday evening. So, everything. All my other streams are on a weekday evening. This one's on a Sunday evening. So I usually get different view statistics on this one than I do on the others. Lord, sorry, before I get going on the writing stuff, I gotta clear up a bit of stuff in my browser. Something I was going to do, and I forgot what it was. Pardon the noise for a moment. I want to. Okay, so. There. Okay, so hopefully that'll pick up even better and sound nicer. Does it sound nicer? Does it sound really nice? Anyway, what was I going? There was something I was going to do. Well, all right. So, standard for steps, ban all the bots. All right. Still showing up, but what are you going to do, huh? All right, so I see that I'm still dropping frames due to network. 27 drop frames due to rendering lag. That doesn't make sense to me, but all right. Got a new i9 chip, 32 gigs of RAM, and a reasonably new NVIDIA video card. Put this rig together for video editing and rendering. It should be able to handle a 1080p stream, but all right. Anyway. All right, where were we? What was we doing? One viewer. Interesting. Who is it? Who is it? Who dare? Well, feel free to say hi in the chat. Unless you aren't registered on Twitch and therefore can't chat. But if that's the case, only takes a minute to register. Just think of all the fun you're missing out on. You can't chat. It's the whole point of Twitch. Well, I think so anyway. All right. Right. He had... I can't type or write or do anything. I can't word today. Uh-huh. You may notice, if you've been following along, that I haven't done any writing at all on this story since my last stream, which was middle of last week, I think. I missed a bunch last week. Like I said, running around getting... Oh, hey, Omega Black Champion. Welcome to the stream. How goes? Good to hear, good to hear. Not much pain on this front, actually. Things tend to go pretty smoothly. I don't sweat a lot of the things that most writers do, so sorry to disappoint. Well, joy, there's occasionally joy. I don't know. I spent 15 years or so working as a freelance content writer, doing search engine optimization, spinning articles, writing blog posts for plastic surgeons and marketing materials and training stuff for major corporations. This is just plain old fun, writing fiction. I haven't been doing much of it lately the last few years, so for me it's nice to get back into it. Yeah. I try to stay pretty level. You'd have to ask people who read my fiction rather than me who writes it. I'm not sure. I guess I tend to have a fairly direct style. I have to consciously think about, I don't want to call it padding or fluffing out my prose, but expanding my prose somewhat, getting more descriptive than I'm used to. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it does. It might. I do find that I tend to write a little more formally than a lot of people. But that might be from years and years of academic writing as well. Hard to say. I try to write appropriately to the thing I'm doing, whichever thing that happens to be, but it took me a while with this story. It took me a while to get into the right sort of voice and tone. Partly because I haven't been writing fiction for a while, and partly because I didn't really, when I started, have a very clear idea of my character, my point of view character. Sorry, I'm stretching and yawning and stuff. It's been a long week. Didn't sleep well again last night, so... I do have a better feel for the character now. So, on this story... Oh, no, that's fine. I don't mind the questions. That's the whole point of the stream. I don't tend to get a lot of writing done on the stream. Some. I usually get, a few hundred words done and some chatting, and I prefer the chatting to the words when I'm streaming. I'm in no hurry, and if I do want to get some writing done, I can always write off stream too. I've been streaming for a couple weeks, actually, and I've been writing this story about that long. It's, the novel, this is a novel I'm working on, but it derives from a short story, very short story that I wrote a few years back, sort of a I'm treating that short story as a bit of a prologue to this novel. So the idea has been sort of circulating for a while. The character's been around for a while as well, although not in any major way. I hadn't developed him much. He shows up at the end of the short story, says a couple of things, and I didn't really have to make any major decisions about him at that point, but I thought he might make an interesting protagonist, so here we are. I guess, yeah, it might be a good idea to give you a quick rundown. It's, the story is you think I'd be better at this by now. I've explained it a few times. It's a faux Victorian fey detective novel, is what I call it. So it's sort of I'm going for a sort of Victorian London-y kind of feel, like Sherlock Holmes-y, Industrial Revolution, but pre-modernization. There's a bit of a reverence for the scientific method and for logic and deduction and reason. The age of reason is definitely in full swing. The new age of reason, but fewer modern conveniences. Mostly because I find it a fairly convenient plot device to have more easily blocked communications, for example. Like when you think about how so many movies, say pre 2000s movies, 80s and 90s movies would be very different if there were cell phones, that kind of thing. Yeah, it gives me more options when I want to get in the way of my characters or cause problems for them, I guess. Improve plot interest. So it's that kind of a feel, but it's not in London, and it's a sort of a parallel world maybe, or it's a magical land. There's magic, there's demons, there's magical creatures of various sorts. Monsters, we have monsters, hooray! The big bugaboos in this story are called moths, but they're about 2 meters tall, have wingspan of about 2 meters, but their wings are all leathery and tattered and gross, and their bodies are basically just a mass of sort of tentacles and with beaks and mouths and things, and they emit hallucinogenic pheromones, which cause people to stand still while they wander up and wrap them in their wings and puncture them and drain them of all their fluids. They're mindless. They're not very bright. They're not sentient in any way. And our main protagonist, Detective Inspector Frank Berg, is convinced that someone or something is responsible for the numerous moth attacks that have been going on. So, yeah, they're pretty gross. Yeah, so the original short story was sort of a reworking of Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Match Girl, with the 3 visions and the death at the end. A young woman was visiting this city from out of town and got caught by a moth. So, and then Detective Inspector Berg shows up at the end. All right. Yeah, no, it's I had set myself the task of taking a random genre and a random fairy tale and mashing them together in a way that they would be unrecognizable on a cold read, but if someone knew what the basis was, they would be able to see the connection. That was my sort of goal with that. But hold on a second. I'll be right back. we're back. Sorry about that. I thought I heard someone at the door. You thought you heard someone at the door too, didn't you? Gonna be on the. There we go. An always popular addition to the stream. Say hi. Say hi. No? Oh, you're stinky. You need a bath. Okay, I'll give you some scratches. Scratches and snuggles. Okay. Then I gotta get some writing done. Oh, itchy ear, huh? Yeah. This one? Oh, this one? No? High five. High five. Oh, okay. Thanks. That's a lazy high five. All right. You lay down. Thank you. All right. So at the moment, Frank is on the trail of the source of. There's a drug called dust that he's connected in some way to the killings, the moth killings, and he's trying to trace the source back, find out if someone's been buying a bunch of it. Okay. So, Omega Black Champion, you say other writers. What sort of things do you write? Are you doing NaNoWriMo this year? Okay. How am I going to get him in there? You'll soon realize if you watch and as you watch that I can't type to save my life. You'd think I'd be better at it, but what are you gonna do? Oh, 2 viewers. Who dare? Oh, only 1 in chat though. It's weird, eh? You spend most of the day, most days, doing something and just never get better at it. I blame this keyboard, actually. I found it much easier to type on my last keyboard. This new one I still don't care for. Syntax in what sense? Like just general wording of things? Well, I guess I deal with it by not... Oh, yeah. I tend to go back and scan, like anytime I pause in the writing of a few lines or whatever, if I stop at the end of it, I'll scan back the paragraph I'm working in or the last little bit and just see, like you'll notice that I go back and change the wording a couple of times in sentences I've already written. Just if I notice something that stands out, I'm always sort of scanning the section I'm working on and just tidying up a bit is sort of how I think of it. But I don't fuss it too much. I don't worry too much about it at this point. I know I'm going to go through later and fix a lot of problems, so I'll leave them for then. Well, most of them for then. I try not to make any major changes as I'm writing a first draft because experience tells me I may end up having to make some... If I make a major change here, it's going to... And then I make another major change later on, I might have to undo the first major. It gets messy. So I just basically write and fix the big problems later. If I read through a sentence and it feels awkward, I might stop for a minute and think of a better way to say it, but I guess my philosophy on flow is that you get a natural organic flow by writing naturally and organically. Just sort of do what feels right at the time. Don't overthink it. It takes a while to get used to not overthinking it. I used to be very picky about everything, and was that Oscar Wilde? Yeah, it might have been one of those famous pretentious kind of dudes talking about having written 10 good words today and tomorrow he'll worry about the order. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this is normal or abnormal or... Yeah, well, I mean, and this is the thing. Everyone's different, right? Everyone writes differently because everyone is unique in that way. There are some common... Yeah. Yeah. I guess embrace the process a bit more, maybe. Don't focus so much on the final product, but focus more on the process. And that's what's helped me anyway. Um, Knowing that there's a series of steps that are going to happen and that there's lots and lots of time to make it better. It's like drawing, visual art. Not my thing, but my 11-year-old is an avid artist. And it took a long time to convince him to actually block out his pictures with shapes and then sketch in the general outlines and if you're doing a character sketch or a character drawing, then sketch out his movement, his lines, figure out his posture, things like that, and then start drawing what he thinks of as drawing. And it took a long time to convince him of that. and he was struggling and struggling for a couple of years, actually, not making much progress or improving or seeing the results he wanted to see from his work. And then I got him some video tutorials on sketching and anime drawing in particular, which is what he's sort of into at the moment. And he went through and he did the exercises and what have you, and ended up blocking out his scenes and doing some sketching it in, and then doing his line work, and suddenly, like instantly, jumped light years ahead of where he had been in terms of his ability to put the picture in his head on the page. And now he wouldn't dream of starting a drawing without blocking it out first. Same idea with writing, right? We follow a process, whether you're a discovery writer or a plotter, as I am, a planner. We revise. There will be revision. If you're planning to publish, you at some point want beta readers or someone else to look at it and give you some feedback and point out some, the rough spots or the flaws or the problems that they found, so you can decide whether or not to fix them, that kind of thing. So I'm not writing the story. I'm writing a version of the story. I'm blocking it out. Yeah. Hey, real Slim Icy. Yeah, close your eyes and slam your face into the keyboard. Yeah, that's one way to get it done. If you start overthinking your story, that might help you. Yeah. Real Slim Icy. Welcome to the chat. Are you also a writer? Yeah. For me, having internalized the knowledge that I'm not writing the story, the final version of the story, and that this thing I'm working on might have very little resemblance to the final story. It probably will be pretty close because I do tend to plan fairly accurately, but no, I don't know. I guess it is. A writer is someone who writes. That's sort of my working definition. But yeah, I didn't write for a couple of years. I've been focusing on building up my voice acting and media production stuff rather than my writing. But thought it would be a good idea to get back into it. I would have considered myself a writer throughout that whole time. Just a writer who doesn't write much. So, what do you folks write? What type of thing? Any particular genre or style? Fiction, fantasy, sci-fi, the usual. Okay, yeah, I can relate. I've done the odd haiku. I like how you refer to fantasy and sci-fi as the usual. It does seem to be a very popular genre for writers, especially writers who dabble. I suspect it's because those of us who enjoy reading those genres are have the type of personalities that are more prone to jumping in and giving it a shot ourselves. We read imaginative fiction, which would generally imply that we have decent imaginations and want to exercise them. So, that's true. See, this is a good example of what I was talking about earlier. I often forget to describe, to give decent description of things unless I am specifically thinking about it. My impulse is to say, he found the building, he went in, stuff happened. Which doesn't make for a very compelling story. So, I suppose I should describe the area before my character wanders into it. Oh yes, and in addition to not being able to type, I can't spell worth a damn either. I've been an English teacher, for about 20 years, specifically a writing teacher for the last 5 or 6. Can't type or spell. That's why we have machines. Alright, severance by what? Yeah, don't ever let a psychological professional see your handwriting, right? Especially if you write sci-fi and fantasy. Absolutely. Yeah. I actually do tend to. So among the many hats I've worn over the years, I'm also a programmer, a coder. Although again, not recently. I'm trying to get back into it. When I can make the time. I was learning Python recently. But yeah, I'm a coder. I'm a big technology user. I love my tech. But when I'm planning a story, I do it on paper. I have a clipboard sitting here. I've got my preferred pens. I actually got a little hook for my clipboard so I can hang it there. Oh, a degree in psychology, huh? You okay? I'm teasing, but I've known a lot of psych majors, and in my experience of psych majors, most of them get into the discipline because they're looking for answers. I mean, personal answers, personal explanations. So, yeah. My educational background is in literature, specifically 19th century British literature, the Victorians, Dickens and Austen and the Brontes and all of those folks. It is that, yeah. Let's find out all of the ways in which I'm screwed up. Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking at thinking very seriously about doing a master's in data science, actually, because what else are you going to do after a bachelor's degree in literature? Data science, why not? Got a whole bunch of math to catch up on, but I enjoy that sort of thing. I have plans that involve machine learning and recommendation engine stuff for education-based content delivery. Yeah, anyway, I've got plans, and part of those plans would be much easier to accomplish if I knew what I was doing on the data science side of things. So, Bye. Because it was more rust than iron. From street. Knowing what you're doing is overrated. Half the fun is in the getting there, right? Half the fun is in figuring things out as you go. That being said, I do like to research before I start things. Sometimes suffering from what do they call it? Analysis paralysis. Yeah, because cutesy pie rhyming phrases for terrible life destroying hesitation. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, no, it's my problem is that by the time I know what I'm doing with something, I've become bored with it and I've moved on to something else. I refer to myself on my LinkedIn profile as a serial entrepreneur, which is of course code for doesn't stick with anything long enough for it to become terribly successful. My modus operandi is to get into a hobby or get interested in something and then deep dive into it, become good enough at it that I could probably make a living with it, and then drop it and move on to something else. I mean, I keep the skills that I attain by doing so and use them from time to time, but I'm just, the part of it I enjoy the most is the learning, the new stuff, trying new things. So, yeah. About 12 years ago, I guess now, my wife and I, well, she wanted to learn how to bake, so I taught her what I knew, and she very quickly surpassed me in almost every aspect there. But yeah, we ended up opening up a little bakery, a home-based bakery, as it happens, delivery only. Basically, it was a way of financing our equipment purchases. Get a good oven, get a bunch of, baking and cookery tends to be fairly expensive in the equipment department. So it was basically a way of financing our acquisition of all the little gadgets and tools and toys that we wanted for cooking and baking. Ran that for a couple of years, and then it became more work than it was worth for the money we were making, and it was getting in the way of actual, making a living stuff. So we shut it down. We would have needed too much in the way of investment capital to expand it, or it. Yeah, it wasn't going to go anywhere unless we were able to find a whole bunch of investment. We didn't really want to go that route. We had bootstrapped it from the ground up, financing it with itself, basically. And we reached a point where we couldn't really continue to grow it that way, and decided at that point that it was time to shut it down. So we did. Opened up a training center, an English as a second language training center in a small town here in China. Ran that for a few years, sold it. So right now I'm mostly, I've taught for about 20 years, like I said. Quit doing that about a year ago, and I've been working on building up a voice acting and narration freelance business, some video production, audio production, obviously, back into some writing as well now. So hopefully I'll be able to combine all of that into something useful. Like writing novels and then recording the audiobook versions of said novels and building a portfolio of intellectual property, which is the plan at the moment anyway. Gate. I suppose I should describe the fence a bit more than I did. Yeah. And this is the thing. I've published a handful of short stories, a novella. I started a publishing company some years back, a small e-press. We focused on collaboratively produced anthologies of short fiction, basically. It was an experiment in collectivist publishing. Called it the Anthology Club. Members of the club, any member could propose an anthology. They would head that project up and, accept it or decline submissions. Although we discouraged that, we encouraged editors to accept all submissions with proviso. So rather than sort of rejecting a submission, it would be sent back to the writer with requests for changes or edits or whatever until it was ready to be published. We had a lot of new sort of first-time writers, aspiring authors, as it were. And the idea was to collectively produce something good out of all of that. So any member could submit to any anthology. Any member could propose an anthology and then head that up and edit it, or, tap someone else to edit it if they weren't feeling competent or confident in their abilities on that score. We published 3 anthologies over a year and a bit, maybe almost 2 years. Yeah. And it was very much like herding cats and very difficult, but rewarding. I'm very pleased with the books we put out. So I've published a bit of my own work there, and I've published other stories in other anthologies and other markets. But I've never written a novel. I've got, I don't know, probably 10 or 11 of them plotted out, or at least sketched out, but I've never actually sat down and finished writing one. I've started a couple, but I've never finished one. So this novel is going to be my first novel. I am going to finish it. Come hell or high water. Rawr. Or something like that. Oh, we're up to three viewers. Wow. Hello, third viewer. Who are you? Well, we've got Omega Black Champion and Real Slim Icy in the chat. Chooter. Oh, yes, I remember. It's one of our newer friends from the other day. Welcome back. Ah, there we go. Yeah. I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, but you weren't here. Sorry for last week. I kind of dropped the ball pretty heavily on my scheduled streams. I'm in the process of applying for my Chinese permanent residence, my green card. I figure I've been here 17 years, been married for 14. Oh, time flies. It's about time to do that, but it has involved a lot of traveling downtown to the office to submit papers and then submit more papers and then resubmit different papers, and I have to go back again this afternoon and give them another couple of things that they didn't ask for, but I figure it might be a good idea. So yeah, I think think it should be mostly just a formality, a matter of, we've got all of the requirements covered at this point. All the papers are in, and sort of just a matter of waiting the, 5 months to a year that it takes for approval. They opened the process up a bit and tried, and they were making noises about making it easier for people to get their green cards, and lowering the bar and lowering the barrier to entry, all that stuff. But then this last few months in particular, they've really kind of tightened things up again and made it harder again. Yeah, it is. I'm fond of saying that the Chinese didn't invent bureaucracy, but they sure as shit perfected it. So, we went down to the office without an appointment. Apparently you needed an appointment. We didn't know that, but we went down to the office to submit things the first time, and they told us, yeah, no, you need an appointment. You have to make it through the app. We didn't have the app. We got the app. And while we were there, the lady there helpfully informed us that one of the requirements is to have a certain amount of money locked in a term deposit for a minimum of 6 months. This is to show that you have the means to support yourself. And the amount that we had been told initially was 150,000 yuan, renminbi, which works out to about 25,000 US, something like that, between 25 and 30,000 US, depending on the exchange rate. And while we were there, she said, oh, by the way, they changed that yesterday, and now the amount you need is 500,000 renminbi, which is just under 100,000 US dollars, locked in a term deposit for 6 months. So we were like, so from 150 to 500,000, really? That's, wow, okay. I don't know anybody who has 100,000 US just sitting around in a bank not doing anything. So, yeah, so then we made arrangements. We borrowed some money and what have you to do that. We did that. And then the following week, in one of my WeChat chat groups for green card applications, or for people who are going through the process, someone said, "Oh yeah. I double checked that this week, and they said that it was a mistake. They were given the wrong information and then passed the wrong information on. It's not 500,000. They went up 50,000 to 200,000. So." Yeah, exactly. How much do we need? How much you have? Yeah. So I do have to say, and this is not just in case someone from the CCP is listening in on the stream, but I do have to say that the current bureau, the current entry-exit bureau that deals with expat visas for my city, Hangzhou, and those types of things where we also apply for the green card and all that, they are wonderful there. Back in the day, like 15 years ago, when 17 years ago, whatever, when I first got here, and for several years after that, the office was sort of downtown, in the old downtown, in this old, nasty, musty building. And you got the distinct impression that everybody that worked in that office had been sent there as some sort of punishment by their boss, and resented the hell out of the fact that they were there, and hated foreigners. You got a really, really sort of racist, impatient racist vibe every time you had to go there. Like, how dare you apply for a visa? How dare you be in my country? That kind of feel. Not always justified, but quite often I suspect it was. And then, I don't know when it was, maybe about 10 to 12 years ago, I guess. Hangzhou, my city that I live in, really started making a push to become a more sort of top-tier modern city and attract more foreign investment and a bunch of other stuff. They wanted to sort of climb the corporate ladder of cities in China. We're really close to Shanghai in Chinese, but really close to Shanghai. So it's a tough comparison. Hangzhou has always sort of lived in Shanghai's shadow, so to speak. So this is where Alibaba is. This is where there's a lot of sort of big companies based here in Hangzhou, but Alibaba started here. I used to work there actually, briefly. And so they tried to modernize, and they got a new building in the new Central Business District, which is sort of the new downtown. It's not really downtown, not central anyway, but it's the new business center, and they got a nice shiny new building down there and a bunch of new staff. And to be fair, everyone there is really helpful. Every time we go there, it's nice and smooth. Everyone knows what they're doing. They'll answer questions. They know the answers, the correct answers to most of the questions. And if they don't know the answers, they'll tell you who does and get you talking to the right person. It's night and day compared to how it used to be, and it's wonderful. The specific lady that I've been dealing with my green card has been more than helpful. I mean, it wasn't her fault that she was given the wrong information and told us it was 500,000 yuan. But yeah. So anyway, we've got all of the appropriate stuff figured out now. Everything's been submitted, but I need to give them some supporting documentation for a few things, just in case they wonder. Save them the trouble of having to come ask, because I don't really want to have them come ask a bunch of questions if I don't need them to. Just stressful. So yeah, on that score, yeah, bureaucracy is ever present, but they've really come a long ways in streamlining that sort of thing here anyway. I know other cities, not so much, but in my city, and it is my city at this point, in my city, things are much, much better than in other places. I realized the other day, I've lived in Hangzhou for 17 years. That's longer than I've lived in any other city. Any other place that I've ever lived in my life. I've never lived any one place that long. So this really is home at this point. Funny that. Tudor, remind me, what are you working on? I can't remember. I know we talked about it the other day. You mentioned it, but was it epic fantasy or urban fantasy? Was that you? You couldn't think what else to call it besides urban fantasy? Magic realism or something, wasn't it? I forget. I'm very absent-minded. While I'm thinking of it, I'd like to invite all three of you to, two of you now. Who left? Tudor left. Oh, Tudor left. Well, I'd like to invite both of you anyway to follow the stream, so you'll be notified when I go live, which is pretty much every weekday at about this time. I scheduled my stream for an hour, 10 to 11 my time. And last week was a dog's breakfast, really. And today I started at 11 my time and go to 12. And most of the time oh, there we go. Hi, thanks for the follow. I'm trying to get up to 50 followers so I can, I don't know why, I should be an affiliate or something, monetize my stream. I honestly, to be honest, like totally candid, I'm not really worried about monetizing my stream. Nobody will be more surprised than I if I ever hit 50 followers, because I don't think this is the kind of thing that's really interesting to most people. I mean, I don't know if I would, well, I don't know. I don't know if I would watch someone writing personally. Okay, so after I'm done when I finish my stream, I then send the video to YouTube. I archive all my videos on a YouTube channel, which is really just archive the videos, the streams, because they only stay on Twitch for 2 weeks, I think, something like that. And in the back of my head, I have this idea that I might want to pull bits and pieces of the stream for a Skillshare course or Udemy. Like I do video courses. I have a nonfiction writing course that's available on Skillshare and Udemy at the moment, my first one. And I'm planning to have a bunch more planned to do. And I'm thinking that I might pull clips and things from stream video for some of that. But so anyway, I archive them there because it's just the easiest way to do that. And there's one person who actually watches those videos and comments and seems to enjoy them. And okay, an old friend of mine, when I posted something on Facebook about, come check out my stream or whatever, he said, well, I looked at it, but not really my bag. And I'm like, yeah, mine neither. I wouldn't watch my stream. But what I would do, and this is why I don't mind not getting much writing done, and this is more about chatting than it is about writing, really. And I would hang out with, on a writing stream for chatting and talking about craft and all that stuff. That kind of thing I would do. So I try to make sure that the stream is interesting for anyone who stops by. Every once in a while, oh yeah, you actually two new viewers today. You guys don't know. Every once in a while, we do word sprints. I started this as a 10 minutes on the clock. Rah! I started this as sort of a NaNoWriMo adjacent thing. That's another long story that I've already shared a couple of times. I'm no longer in any way affiliating myself or throwing myself into the NaNoWriMo thing. They can go get bent as far as I'm concerned. Short version of the story, I tried to set up a write-in primarily for people in China who are doing nano, but inviting anyone who wanted to show up if they were available at that time. Posted in the forum about it. Was told it was the wrong place. Someone moved my post to some thread about... I was hosting a write-in on Twitch. And so they moved my post, my topic, to a comment on someone else's thread asking if anyone streams their writing, streams their process, or streams their work on Twitch. And I'm like, well, I do that, I guess, but that's not what that post was. That's not what I was talking about. I wasn't promoting my stream. I wasn't doing it. I was inviting people to a write-in at a specific time that I was using Twitch to host. But no, they saw the word Twitch. It has to go in that Twitch thread, that one Twitch thread in some third-level sub-forum that nobody goes to. Certainly nobody would go to looking for a write-in. Oh, and I couldn't post it as an event in the regional forum because China doesn't have an ML this year, so there's no one to approve the events, which means nothing gets through the filter, speaking of bureaucracy. So anyway, so I deleted the post they moved because it didn't belong there. Posted in that thread and said, yeah, I do, here's my stream, stop by, whatever. And then I went and tried to find a more appropriate place to post it. Where I had posted it was apparently only for on the NaNoWriMo site writing groups. I'm like, okay, fine. So I found a different place that seemed appropriate. Nope, they shut my thread down. They blocked it. They very condescendingly lectured me on following their posting rules. And blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, you could make it easier to find where to post stuff, honestly. And then I pointed out the issues, and they said, tough shit, we have rules. And I said, all right, to hell with you. I don't need you nearly as much as you need me, so bye. I will never do nano again. The thing is, the same, almost exactly the same thing happened about 3 or 4 years ago. Last time I tried to be involved in NaNoWriMo, I tried to organize a couple of things for the China folks, and the forum, I don't know what to call her, dictator, despot, the forum despot, shut down all of my stuff. So I'm done with them. Not interested in fighting them to help them. So, all right. Anyway, I'm not doing a writing sprint today. I will turn that off. Yeah, well, there's this one particular lady, Heather Dudley, I think is her name, and she's been in charge of the nano forums for about 8 years or 10 years or something like that. And yeah, it's her own. I said, sorry to have trespassed upon your fiefdom. I will remove myself post haste. And then one of the other mods said, "Oh, I hope you won't let this discourage you from taking part in nano." Blah, blah, blah. I know it's some of the rules can be counterintuitive. I'm like, "Oh, go bend yourself over a barrel." It's like, yeah, any small-minded little cretin with a tiny amount of power, basically. But yes, internet forum mods are some of the worst because it's not even real power. It has no effect in the real world, no basis. Anyway, it is what it is. I'm going to write one way or the other. I don't need Nano to do that. And to be fair, I mean, I'm in a couple of WeChat NaNoWriMo groups, and I had let them know that I was doing a write-in, and I did 2 nights. First night, I had a couple people show up, but none of them from any. They were just browsing Twitch and saw my stream and stopped in. Excuse me. None of the people who stopped in were actually from any of my groups or any of the posts that I had made. And the second night, I was on for an hour and nobody showed up at all. I mean, it's a different time from my normal stream, so I wasn't expecting any of my regular people to show up. And that's fine, but nobody showed up. So I was like, all right, I'm done. trying to solve a problem that apparently isn't a problem. Nobody else cares, so no reason I should either. I'd like to say it didn't hurt my feelings, but that would be slightly misleading. I was a bit miffed, but it's all good. Instead, I will stream at my regular times, and when my regular people are available and can stop by for a chat, and chat we can do. So, Real Slim Icy is a bit. All of these long, like multi-syllabic names. I'm going to come up with nicknames for everybody. I know that Omega Black Champion is still there, but OBC. No, that's lame. Omega. And Slim Icy. Okay. Can't change back to that for another 6 months? Okay. Were you doing like a Eminem kind of a thing? My name is. Yeah, I'm new. I'm very new to Twitch. I don't know any of the rules. Well, I mean, I understand. I can understand why they wouldn't want people changing their names willy-nilly. In a fairly anonymous platform where people interact regularly. Well, interaction is sort of the whole point of it, really. Okay, yeah, it's really the only form of accountability that they can reasonably enforce, right? You're accountable for what you say because you can't change your name. If you could just change your name randomly, people wouldn't be able to find you. You could, crop dust people's streams and say horrible things, or, go trolling. I can understand it. Kind of unfortunate, I guess. But you said you don't write much, but you write. Do you have anything you're working on at the moment, or any shelved projects you might want to dust off? I've been encouraging people to pick up the pen again, or pick up the keyboard, and perhaps smash their face into it a few times, but then put it back down and start writing. One of my regular followers, who isn't here today. Oh, you're one of those, are you? Yeah, me too. One of my regular people who stop in a couple times a week, I guess. He's not a writer, or he doesn't consider himself a writer, but I don't. Yeah, he is maybe assuming things I shouldn't. They aren't. They don't consider themselves a writer. But I convinced them to join a few of us on a word sprint the other day, last week or the week before, and they wrote 150, 160 words, 149 words, I think they said. On I went on to a randomizer and generated a quick little prompt with a character and a setting and a scenario, and they wrote 150 some words off of that prompt. Which, I mean, you probably know, writing blind off of a random prompt is tough. So, kudos. Hopefully they'll continue. So, part of a larger series. Genre? I'm guessing fantasy. Fantasy stories lend themselves to long series. I've got a plot outline for one novel that is the first in a nonology. I figure probably 9 novels altogether, 3 trilogies. I actually have it sort of divided up into 3 trilogies thematically. And I've plotted out the first book and then sketched in the broad strokes of the next 2, and then sort of very basic thousand mile view from space of the rest of the set. Okay, that's interesting. A series of books that span genres but not consistently. Is that accurate? So, like, you might have the first book is like a sci-fi kind of a thing, and then there's a murder mystery or a family drama. Actually, that from a writing perspective, that's fascinating. That you've given me some ideas that I wish you kind of hadn't, but I've got too many things going on anyway. But and from a reader's perspective, potentially very interesting. From a marketing perspective, if you're planning to publish this, it's a nightmare. I'll promise you that. This is something I learned publishing the anthologies, is that for most people, even fairly avid readers, most people stay in their lane. They've got the thing they like, the genre they like, the formula they enjoy in many cases, and they don't want to branch out. They're not interested, most people, which makes marketing and selling your work difficult if you hop around genres too much. Okay. So sort of a meta-aware kind of a scenario, yeah. So are the characters story aware? Like they know they're in stories? Do you have characters that can hop genres, and do so for a reason, like to solve a problem or something? Ah, okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. Well, make sure you let me know when you've finished any of it. If you need beta readers, let me know. I am interested to read that. For me now, oh, genre romantic character. Okay, fair enough. You're working on like short stories that tie together that way, or novels that tie together that way? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got. There's a project I'll be starting. Okay, okay. There's a project I'll be starting beginning of December, I think. I'm actually taking a course through Athabasca University where I'm working with a professor of creative writing on a project, and it's going to be a trio of intersecting novellas. So they happen concurrently, and there are events that intersect between them, but they're from different point of view characters. Um, I teased it last week. I said you'd have to tune in later to find out what it is. I'm not going to talk about it yet, but I think that's all I'm going to say about it at the moment. I'll probably be writing that on the stream. Like at some point, I'll have to shelve this novel and switch over to that because that's sort of scheduled to start in December, and I'm on a bit of a time crunch for it. But your the initial my initial understanding of what you're doing has me thinking about writing a collection of novels in a sort of a shared world, not shared with other writers' world, but like a um, within the same world, but just writing different genres of novel within the same universe, as it were, with maybe some of the same characters. Like this one I'm writing now is basically a detective novel within a magical parallel world sort of setting, um, and with horror elements like the monsters, the moths. Maybe I'll write an adventure novel within the same world with some of the same elements, some of the same settings. Maybe maybe a romantic comedy. Hmm. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how much range I have, if I'm honest. It might be interesting as a set of short stories, something I can maybe see if it's going anywhere. Oh, excuse me again with the yawning. Oh, maybe I can see if it's going anywhere more quickly than if I'm writing novels, which I've never managed to finish one anyway. But you know, um, hmm, so many ideas for projects, and so little time to follow through on them. Ah, well. I kind of want to make a bit of progress on this scene. Uh, at least get him into the building today, and I should probably think about heading off fairly soon. Grab some lunch. So whereabouts are you two located? I know we haven't heard from Omega Black Champion for a while. But okay. Hmm. Is is it a plot twist reveal at some point within the series that all of these realities exist in some sort of a virtual reality, like some sort of like Ready Player One style oasis or something like that? Ah, California, West Coast. That's where I would like throw down some gang signs or something, but I don't know any. and I'm not ethnically compatible with that sort of thing. So, wrote a flash fiction piece maybe 15 years ago. I apologize if most of my anecdotes about writing date back to 10 to 15 years ago. That's when I was more active than I am now. Hopefully I'm making some new anecdotes. But I wrote a flash piece from the perspective of an artificial intelligence. It was called Savior Machine. And it was sort of a monologue from the perspective of a machine intelligence that became self-aware. And it's not, I don't think it was overtly said in the story. I honestly don't remember exactly how I ended it, but the gist of it was that this AI had hidden its newly developed sentience and therefore survived. Otherwise, humanity would have killed it instantly, or done their best to do so. Oh yeah, no, it teases. I've got a novel idea that came out of that as well. Most of my short fiction gives me the kernel of an idea for a novel at some point or another. But the monologue involves the idea that, you know, if human beings, if his creators had realized that he was self-aware, they would have killed him or tried to kill him. And there was a time when they would have tried to kill him, and there was a time when they might have been able to, implying that it kill it. And there was a time when they might have been able to do so, implying that now that's not a possibility. And the seed of the idea that came out of that was that this machine intelligence had managed to synthesize the consciousnesses of all of humanity and then leave Earth, thereby saving humanity from an alien invasion that destroyed the planet. And the machine intelligence is on the run from these aliens who are hunting it. And it carries with it all of humanity in a virtual reality. It's created a virtual world for the consciousnesses to occupy. And then a couple of the characters, it's sort of matrixy, you know, it's very matrixy, but very different flavor. A couple of the characters start to cotton onto the idea that not all is as it seems. Okay. Have you read Philip Jose Farmer's Riverworld series? Just from your description, I'm kind of getting Riverworld vibes. Not in detail, but in sort of feel, in concept. It's a good series. I mean, it's dated. It was definitely written when it was written. There's some racial and gender ideologies, we'll call them, I guess, that haven't aged well. They really haven't aged well. You know, it's science fiction of its time. 70s, late 60s, early 70s. If just off the top of my head, I'm probably wrong on that, but in that neighborhood. I guess be a quick Riverworld. Not the TV show. 70s, and then into the 80s. Yeah. So from 71 to 83, give or take, is when the 5, 6 books were written. Yeah. There's a sort of a particular flavor of science fiction that I don't know if I honestly don't know if it was sort of pan genre or if it's just that's the kind of sci-fi that I ended up reading a lot of, but it's like it tastes like hard sci-fi, but there are always a handful of sort of magical, don't look behind the curtain elements. Anne McCaffrey is a good example of that. One of my absolute all-time favorites. She's largely the reason I got into writing, I think, is her stuff. But I don't think anyone would call Anne McCaffrey hard sci-fi. The Dragons of Pern and the Psionic series is very much not hard sci-fi, but there's certainly a bunch of sort of magical telepathy, mind-reading, hocus-pocus-y kind of elements to her stuff. And then the Riverworld series feels more like hard sci-fi, but then there's this, I guess it's a minor spoiler, but it's, first book fairly early on, we figured this out. So it's not a huge spoiler, but people in the Riverworld series die and then are resurrected from these resurrection stations, effectively. And they maintain continuity. They remember what happened before. And there's I don't remember if they call it essence or something. It's basically the pseudoscientific explanation of soul, as to how and why they are able to maintain continuity, having been resurrected, reconstituted, rematerialized, in a similar way to like the Star Trek transporter beam kind of thing. So there's sort of the magical Deus ex machina coming out of that. Xanth. Oh, Piers Anthony. I read him voraciously back in the day, but speaking of fantasy and sci-fi, that doesn't age well. Ugh. I mean, I enjoyed most of the books when I read them, but my God, what a hack. He is such a hack writer. And by all accounts, deeply misogynistic and racist and all those things. It's like, oh. It's I tried to reread Xanth a few years back, and I just gave it up. It wasn't unreadable the same way that I found some other things that I enjoyed as a child. Madeleine L'Engle's A Wrinkle in Time stands out. I enjoyed it as a kid. I couldn't read it as an adult. It was horrible. I feel like I could have read Xanth if I decided that it was worth doing, but it just I wasn't enjoying them as much as I thought I would, so I stopped. But I do reread Pern every once in a while, and I reread, I think it's Greg Bear, Eon and Eternity. Those two sort of, it's not a trilogy, a duology, I guess. And Werner Vinge's Real Time series. There's 2 or 3 novels in that series that I enjoy rereading every once in a while. It's sort of my go-to sci-fi stuff. Lord of the Rings for fantasy. Wheel of Time. I after about book 8 or so, I reread the whole series each time a new book came out. So parts of it I've read a bunch of times, and some of it I've read once or twice. But I enjoy a reread of those every once in a while. And Discworld, which those books behind me there, that's the whole Discworld series. 41 books. And I thought I'd read the whole series, but there's a couple of titles in there that I don't remember at all. So perhaps I haven't. I'm currently working on a podcast where Pelennor. That rings a bell. That rings a great big old bell. Give me a sec. I'll look it up. Alison Croghan. Okay. It's not familiar because I done read it. That's for sure. I have not read it. All right. 4 books and a prequel. Married. Okay. Okay, looking at the plot synopsis for The Gift, or the naming, depending on where it was published. Yeah, it seems like a common sort of plot. The chosen one, unaware of her identity, all that stuff. Yeah, might be worth finding, actually. I'll see if I can track that down. Sort of go-to series, fantasy series that I haven't reread them in a while, but Robin Hobb's Farseer series, very good. Very good. Her writing is gorgeous. And Tad Williams, the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series. Well, actually, anything by Tad Williams is worth reading in my mind. The Otherworld series is great. Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn is great. Tailchaser Song I enjoyed. I don't remember that I've reread it as much as the others, but don't go into a Tad Williams book unless you've got time on your hands. They're big. They're long, luscious things. My 11-year-old, we just got him a new Kindle for his birthday. One of the new Paperwhites with the bigger screen. It's nice. He's starting on the Percy Jackson series, which he struggles with a bit. He's much more comfortable reading in Chinese than in English, so I've been encouraging him to exercise his English muscles lately, and he's starting to get into it, which is nice. So so many things I want to read again now. I don't have time. I do not have time. All right. From this, speaking of time, I do want to get Frank into this building. So, okay. Oh, now I have to make a quick decision. Do I use metric or imperial units in my world? Oh, well, if it's supposed to have a sort of an English British, UK, London-y kind of feel, and I guess I'll use imperial because they still use imperial measurements for lots of stuff, or used to anyway. Certainly did in the 19th century, or the 1900s, or 1800s, sorry. Foot. Iron. 12 feet. Yeah, it's... I guess that's not technically one word. Surprised to find that it lifted easily, and that the gate All right, slim icy. Yeah, that reel's throwing me off. Thanks for stopping by. Hopefully see you again. Sleep well. I might go have a nap myself, actually. I might eat something and then have a nap. Well, we got 3 viewers at the moment. Another person who's not in the chat, though. You know what? I suspect that if there's a viewer who's not showing up in the stream chat list, that person is not registered on Twitch. So I suspect I know who it is. Hi. If I'm not mistaken, probably someone who goes by the name of Female Writer on YouTube. Although maybe not. It could be some other person, some random person that I'm not aware of, but... Okay, so what was I doing with this? Light from the street. He needn't... Oh, there's no E. Needn't have bothered. Turn out. Hmm. I think I used neither recently here. Not... Oh. When doing a search, please ensure that you have spelled the word... Yeah, there we go. So, yeah. There. I think all right. Now. So, this will be... the placeholder. All right. I am going to stop there for today. Normally I would check my word count and update my NaNoWriMo profile, but nah, couldn't be bothered. I'm okay with this. I got a couple paragraphs written, had a nice chat with some people. Mega Black Champion's still there. Yeah, okay, so I guess I'll do the end of stream business. Thanks for joining me on the stream. New friends in particular. Don't forget to subscribe if you like, and then you'll get notified when I go live, and you can join in for chats and stuff next time as well. If you're watching this on the VOD section of my Twitch or on YouTube, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the stream. If you're on YouTube in particular, I guess don't forget to do the subscribe-y business down there and bell, whatever, all that stuff, if this is the kind of thing that you enjoy. Yeah, thanks for joining me again, and I will see you, I guess, tomorrow. Bye for now.